All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most haunting stories in industrial history, the story of the Radium Girls. These women were promised what seemed like the job of a lifetime, but it turns out they were literally painting their own death sentences with a poison that glowed in the dark.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Imagine waking up and seeing your own skin glowing. For these young women back in the early 20th century, this wasn't some kind of nightmare. Actually, it was almost magical. It was a symbol of their amazing job, a sign that they were on the cutting edge of the future. But what they didn't know was that this ghostly light was actually a terrible, terrible omen.
So to really get how something like this could even happen, we've got to rewind the clock. Let's go back to the 1920s. This was an era just buzzing with optimism and scientific wonder. And right at the heart of all that excitement was this brand new element that everyone believed was going to change the world.
That element was radium. And honestly, it was the absolute superstar of the elements. I mean, it was new, it was exciting, and hey, it glowed in the dark. What's not to love, right? People were completely fascinated. It was sold as a cure-all, and they put it in everything. We're talking water, chocolate, even makeup. Nobody thought this amazing glowing stuff was dangerous. To them, it was the future. It was progress.
Okay, so now try to put yourself in the shoes of a young woman back then. Getting a job at the United States Radium Corporation, that was a huge deal. The pay was great, the work was considered glamorous, and you felt like you were part of this incredible scientific revolution. These women were chosen specifically for their delicate artistic skills. Their job? To paint these tiny glowing numbers on watch dials, often for soldiers. This wasn't just a paycheck, it was a real status symbol. But, as you can probably guess, this dream job came with a catch, a hidden, deadly routine. It was all based on a simple set of instructions that would have absolutely catastrophic consequences.
Here was the technique they were taught: lip, dip, paint. Sounds simple enough. To get a perfectly fine point on their tiny paintbrushes, they were told to just lick them. Put the bristles between their lips and twirl, every single time. And every single time they did that, they were swallowing a tiny dose of radium. The company? They told them it was harmless. But with each and every lick, they were swallowing what's been called liquid death.
And you know, the most tragic part of all this is that the danger was disguised as fun. The women even got a nickname, the Ghost Girls. Why? Because at the end of the day, they'd be covered in this fine, glowing radium dust. Their skin, their hair, their clothes, it would all shine in the dark. They thought it was a cool party trick. Some of them would actually wear their nicest dresses to work, so they would literally glow at parties later that night. All the while, they had no idea this beautiful glow was a poison, slowly but surely embedding itself deep inside their bodies. Well, the party didn't last long. Soon enough, that miracle glow started to reveal its true, horrifying nature. The fun turned into this silent, creeping horror that left doctors completely baffled and families absolutely devastated. The first major sign was something that became known as radium jaw. It would start with a bad toothache, and then teeth would just start falling out. But it was so much worse than that. You see, the body mistakes radium for calcium, so it was settling right into their bones. The radium was literally eating away at their jawbones from the inside, making them brittle and full of holes. It was an unimaginable agony, and at the time, nobody could figure out why it was happening.
And this is where the story gets really, really cynical. Because on one side, you had the company's chemists and managers. They handled the radium with lead screens and tongs because they knew it was dangerous. But on the other side, you had the young women on the factory floor. And they were being told, don't worry, a little radium will make you rosy. The company knew. They knew. And they lied. It was a deliberate, deadly deception.
So when the women started getting sick and dying, what did the company do? They launched a full-blown disinformation campaign. They paid off doctors to lie on death certificates, often blaming diseases like syphilis, anything to ruin the women's reputations and shift the blame. Just look at the story of Molly Mogja, one of the very first to die. Her jaw had literally disintegrated, and still the company refused to accept any responsibility. They just claimed her death had nothing to do with her job.
But here's the thing. The company completely underestimated the women they had poisoned. Even though they were incredibly weak, even though they were literally dying, a small group of them decided to fight back, to take on this corporate giant that had betrayed them so completely. They became known as the Living Dead
because they were fighting for justice right from the edge of the grave.
This really gets to the heart of why they fought so hard. A woman named Grace Fryer led the charge, and 4 others joined her to sue the company. But by the time their case finally made it to court, they were so sick they couldn't even raise their own hands to take the oath. They had to be carried in. But their spirit, it was unbreakable. This was never just about the money. It was a fight to prove their lives mattered.
And incredibly, they won. Their fight led to a landmark victory that changed everything. I mean, everything. Their case established the right for workers to sue their employers for job-related illnesses. It led to brand new industrial safety standards that have protected countless people ever since. They proved that even when you feel completely powerless, you can still take on a giant corporation and win.
So the court case was over, but the story for the Radium Girls themselves, well, it wasn't. The very poison that took their lives made sure that their legacy and their physical bodies would endure in a way that is frankly haunting.
Yeah, just look at that number, 1,600 years. That is the half-life of radium. What that means is that the poison inside their bones will continue to be radioactive for centuries, for millennia, actually. That glow is still there, and it's going to outlast pretty much anything we build today.
And that brings us to the final chilling piece of this story. Their bones are still radioactive. Right now, today. So much so that many of them had to be buried in lead-lined coffins. And if you were to take a Geiger counter to their grave sites, it would still click. In a way, they became these invisible monuments, a permanent radioactive warning from the past about an era that valued progress more than people.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty heavy question, one that is just as important today as it was 100 years ago. In our own world of fast-moving technology and constant innovation, the story of the Radium Girls is this tragic reminder. It forces us to stop and ask, behind every great leap forward, what's the cost? And more importantly, who is it that's paying the price?